So my name is Rebekah Lyons. I'm the Managing Director and I'm working here 33 years on the 19th of March.
And my name is Denise and I'm the College Director, and tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, I'm 20 years in Portobello Institute and I'm the College Director.
So my role primarily involves setting the strategic direction of Portobello, whilst I also then oversee the financial function, marketing and admissions.
And my responsibilities are around supporting the academic and operational activities within the Institute.
For me, education has always been about inclusivity, particularly in Portobello. My mother always believed in people having access to education and the benefits that it brought. And while Portobello has changed considerably over the years in terms of what we offer, that ethos is still there about giving access to education. You know, you can interpret that as being inclusive to all gender, all socioeconomic groups, all abilities. And that's a really important part of the culture and what we do here in Portobello.
Yeah, and I suppose with that in mind, like, we work hard to support people from all backgrounds, as Rebekah has said, to reach heights that they had never believed possible. And I can give you an example of somebody this morning I had a conversation with who had kind of a poor journey through her formative education, and then heard through a teacher, a career guidance teacher, about coming and studying in Portobello Institute. She came and did her QQI level 6 with us, and then was inspired then to continue on to a degree programme, and she's now in the middle of a master's programme, and she would never have dreamed that it was possible. And so what we've inspired her, as somebody that had a poor formative early educational journey, to reach heights that she had never believed possible. Next week I'm 20 years working in Portobello Institute, and I started in the Institute teaching on an early childhood studies programme, and a lady came to study with us on the Montessori programme, and her confidence was very low. She had a very poor early educational journey, and when she came into class, she was kind of running herself down, didn't believe that it was possible that she'd get through the programme. And working closely with her, supporting her to build her self-belief, suggesting that she get tested for dyslexia, and working closely alongside her to build not only her knowledge within the programme, but also her self-confidence. She did very, very well in the programme. She actually was nominated as by her classmates as Student of the Year, and went on to open her own Montessori school and took our students for years. Last weekend I was at a rugby match, and both her and, as it turned out, her and my son were playing on the same pitch together, and she came up and tipped me on the shoulder and said, "Is it you?" And I looked at her, I said, "Joan." And we had a conversation, and she said, "I can't believe you remembered my name." And she said to my younger child that was with me, "Your mommy inspired me all those years ago to believe in myself." So a lady that had had a very poor educational journey had come back after rearing her children, the early rearing of her children, come back and came on an educational journey with us, and had a very fruitful career, had just retired after the pandemic. Education had really changed her life and built her confidence and empowered her to open her own business and to be very, very successful.
I think as well we also have a lot of women working here in Portobello, and by offering them flexibility and support, and we have a lot of mothers working here as well, it means that they can rejoin the workforce in a way that's very meaningful for us, but that's also meaningful for them and for their families. And we try to encourage that profile of woman, certainly within our own organisation, to achieve their own personal career best.
Yeah, I think both of us have continued as part of our careers. We both have children, and we both know the challenges of being a working mother, and also to continue studying and learning and growing throughout that, our careers. And I suppose it has allowed us to have empathy and understanding.
And to make that available to other women.
Yeah, and then people then have, I suppose, stuck with us then and worked hard and gone on a journey as well. And we have staff with us quite a long time that have been on similar journeys to us. Not just women, men too. But I think when you have a female leadership team, you understand, and then there's that alignment between the staff with the same challenges that we've had to overcome.
In order to offer people a pathway and an opportunity, and sometimes to break a cycle of socioeconomic challenges, education generally guarantees a route to a better life. And it's often those who are more challenged, whether it be gender, whether it be financial, that are restricted in their access to education, and that then restricts the opportunity for them to fulfill their potential. And so that's why it's so important that actually the more challenged in our society are supported to be included in education. That's what I would believe.
Yeah, I think, and I suppose in support of that, we've done quite a bit of work outside of Ireland supporting educational journeys for people that wouldn't have otherwise have had access to education, or people that wanted to know more, wanted to have access to education and they couldn't afford it, for example. And we've done work in India, and they're inspiring then for their children because they can see with education, these are the benefits, and so supporting their children to either take up education or stay in education.
Participating in education builds a person's self-confidence and a self-belief in their own value, in their own ability, and that then permeates through their whole life and what they believe that they can achieve and what they're capable of.
The best example I can think of is when I completed a master's in 2012, and my children were kind of 8 and 10, and I was heavily pregnant on my third child, sitting typing an assignment. And when they came to the graduation, then it was so inspiring for them to see that education never stops, and that even though I was working and I was working full time and I was a mother and I was rearing them, that I think very shortly afterwards I was promoted, and for them to see that education leads to these pathways and opens these doorways for you. So I think it can be very inspiring for children and people, your circle around you, to see.
Yeah, and it gives that inner self-belief, and that inner self-belief then gives confidence for people to try things that they never thought they could.
Yeah, my parents, I suppose, would be very inspirational. They worked really hard, and they had 5 children. My dad worked several jobs. My mother wanted her children to be educated. So neither of them had very good formal education, and they wanted their children to have an education. And so there's 5 of us. The first 4 all went on to do master's degrees, and then my brother is now completing his degree here. And that was my mother, without formal education, but she knew what an education could bring. And then the first person to inspire me as a leader was somebody in a part-time job I had while I was in college, a gentleman who was manager of a hotel. And he commended people in the moment when they did good work. And he was just a really good person, and he was very, very inspirational. And then in terms of my later working life, then this is kind of my third life in work, my third role, and I think it's been quite inspiring to work alongside another very strong female who's had a very different pathway in her life than I have. She has 7 children and has managed to run a business through very challenging years and to continue to run a business and rear 7 lovely children. And we have both grown, I think, over our years, my 20 years here and her very long time in the Institute. So that's been very inspirational. And Mother Teresa is a great inspiration of mine, a quiet woman that did massive work with very, very underprivileged people. And I've had the privilege in Portobello Institute of travelling to work in Belarus and in India and supporting again the work of other NGOs.
For me, I think it starts back with my grandmother and my mother, both really hardworking women and both really ambitious women, really driven to achieve what they wanted to achieve, whilst also, you know, my grandmother was also farming. She was raising children and there'd always be an animal in the kitchen. You know, it was a typical country farmhouse in Donegal, and she was hugely inspirational. And then my mother, you know, she really believed in education. They both really believed in education. And my mother actually founded Portobello from that belief that my grandmother had given her. And she had her ups and downs and worked really hard, and it was really challenging back in the different recessionary times during the 80s, but she kept on going. She never gave up faith. And then I suppose through my working life, a little bit like Denise, I suppose we're working together nearly for 20 years, and at times Denise's take on something would be very different than mine, and I've often found that inspirational and really balances me and potentially tempers my ambition with reality, and also very kind and very generous woman. And then there's lots and lots of other people throughout. You know, people come in and they touch your life and then maybe they go out again. And I've personal friends who I really admire, make me laugh, make me cry. But there's lots of people through any journey of anybody's life, but they would be maybe the main 3.